Hello there, everyone. Let's just move that up a little bit. It's quite bright there, isn't it? Let's do that like that. Okay. Maybe even. Maybe we don't need the lights on today. No, we don't. Hi there, everyone. How are you? I'm just going to have a quick check on Facebook. I really don't know what's going on over there today. It looks like, actually. Let's turn it down. Oh, it looks like we might be live. Are we live on Facebook as well, everybody? I hope so. Let's move those out of the way because they're upside down. We don't want to confuse everyone. Okay. Oh, brilliant. Hi, Jean. You can see and hear. Brilliant. That's great. Hi, Carol from the US, Wisconsin. Lovely to have you here. Who else have we got? We've got, is that, how do we say that? Is that Seal? Nocella? No, how do we say that? Seal? Apologies if I've got that wrong. We've got Evelyn, we've got Carol. Hi, Carol. We got these yesterday from Scrapbook in the US. Oh, brilliant. So you've not had the chance to use them. Well, I'm using pretty much all the sets that I have, bar one. So hopefully you've got the same sets as I've got. If not, I think they're all quite interchangeable actually with the flowers. You can substitute in what you have if it's not entirely the same as what I have. Hi, do we have? We have Jean and Jan from Yorkshire in the UK, and Sharon. Hi, Sandy from Canada, and Suzanne. Actually, we've got quite a few names I don't recognise. Well, it's lovely to have you all here. I've got two cards for you today. As I say, I think I've got most of them. I might not have all of the Spellbinders collections. So if you have some products that I don't have and you get a chance to substitute in, then that would be great. But it's the first time I've done a live with them all together. I've used little elements of the words in some of the lives I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, but it's the first time I've sort of concentrated on these sets completely. So I'll show you what I have. I have the Smile collection here, which is, we have a collection of 3 dies, which die cut the word smile, and we have some sentiments there. So I have this one, which I'll be using. I have the Layered Anemone, which is a cute little set here. So I'll just turn that over and you can see we have lots of the just floral dies in the stems to make the same dies that are on here. Actually, you can see the anemones here, but as I say, everything's interchangeable. So some of the packaging for other sets also feature the same florals. So yes, I'm using those two together on this first card here, which I'll get to in a second. I didn't use this one today, the woven lattice texture. I thought I would, but I haven't found a place to put that today, but I'll definitely be using this on other cards, and I will probably even mix and match with some of Lisa's own branded florals and embossing folders and whatever, because this is such a useful die, as is everything. And as the time goes on, I think all of these sets will definitely be integrated and used with all of Lisa's other products that she releases under her own name. So we have the woven lattice texture. So I'll put that one aside. I won't be using that one today. We also have another word set, which is the Hello set. This is called a little Hello. It follows the same format as the Smile sentiments here, as you can see. There is a die missing. from there, which I'll be using on the card in a bit. So I just need to make sure I know where that is. Yes, I know where that is, so don't worry about that. You will have a die sitting there. But we have the hello one also, which follows the same format. As I say, you have the 3 layering dies for the word hello. You have the inclusive die, which allows you to die cut all of these sentiments all in one go. So this is one stamp, which you can stamp all the sentiments all in one go. And then you can die cut them all in one go. So even if you are only using one of these sentiments at a time, stamp them all, die cut them all, and just keep them in your storage folder with them, because at some stage you will need a quick card and you will definitely need to reach for a pre-stamped and pre-cut sentiment. So that's really useful. We also have another floral set. This is the layered iris. So pretty and really, really detailed actually. I've already put one of these together, so I will put the second one together for you, and that will sit on a card. And this is also being used with the stitched edge circle backgrounds. There are 4 dies in this set, but the combinations of what you can create are so much more than that. You get a chance to, I'll just show you the patterns. We have the zigzag patterns and we have the lattice work. I've already used the lattice work on the live that I've done last week with the musical embossing folder. I don't know if you're aware, but I'll just bring that card in for you now. This is what I created last week, and although the focus of last week's live was the music embossing folder here, I actually used dies from this set to decorate the front there. So I've managed to die cut that in. Now with this die set, you have the ability with both of the designs to die cut the aperture as is straight into your card blank or into a piece of card and it remain there. But what you also have is a smaller die, which looks tiny but very mighty. This can cut. Now if you wanted to create this die cut this grid work, let me turn that around so you can see that. There you go. If you wanted to die cut this grid work from a piece of card in itself, you would use this smaller die and you would just put that round, and then you would have a circle lattice available to you. So that is these first images here. You could also die cut this using the 4th die in the set, which is slightly more substantial, but this gives you the double stitched edge, so you would be able to pop that around your lattice work and also die cut that out as well. So if I show you, this is exactly what you have sitting here. So this is the either one of the designs with a smaller border around the outside, which you would use the really thin die for, or you could use this larger one, which I will be using today, and you'll see all of those available, and you'll be able to cut the lattice work or the zigzags with the double stitched edge. Then of course on top of that you have the chance to create a frame by itself and just pure die cuts by itself as well. So although we only have 4 dies in here, you can create so many looks. And obviously the circles are completely interchangeable between each of the outline dies. And if you look on the smile set here, we also have another die, and I think this might be one of the better pressed ones, that we also have the lines, and that circle will definitely fit within these dies as well. So Lisa, as always, has really thought about how interchangeable and how all the dies can work between themselves. So I'll just put this one back now. And you also see on the packaging here, actually, Lisa has shown you this, showing how everything is interchangeable. You can see on this packaging for the hello, the little hello sentiments, you can also see that zigzag circle being used in the background there. And this is a really nice idea for a really effective, quick and simple card. The zigzags here obviously come out from the die cut there, but I will go ahead and you'll see how all these dies actually work in practice. So it's all very well sort of chatting about these, but it's nice to see them die cut and actually working as we go. So who have we got? Oh, Diana from India. Hello. Lovely to have you here. Just to think what time of day it is with you. I really don't know. Are you ahead of us, maybe? Who else have we got? Can I use these dies in any die cutting machine? Yes, actually, Kathleen, these will be pretty standard to use across the board in any die cutting machine, because they are the thin dies, say the thin wafer dies, which will fit most die cutting machines, and also they'd also fit the majority of them. I'm not saying all of them because the circle dies won't, but definitely the floral ones will, and the sentiment ones will fit through, even the smaller, the sidekicks, or the really portable ones with the tiny cutting plates as well, and which my favourite thing to use. And then I know that a die fits through these smaller ones, that it really does encourage me in particular to use them more. And say, if you can see how small these dies are and how these cutting plates, you can see my cutting plates are well used, tiny little plates, and you can see that they'll definitely fit on there. Now, the only thing that you would struggle with on this desktop one is perhaps the circle squares, but if you've got the Gemini 2, I'm assuming that's the size that will definitely fit at least a 6x6 through, so you won't have any worries with that at all. Okay, so I've got two cards for you today. I'll start off with the simpler one first. I'm just going to put the little slide up for you today. As I say, I try to give you the products that I'm using, particularly when I do a live and I'm stenciling. That's not coming up now. I need somebody to tell me if they can see that or not, because for some reason that's not working. Let me just come back to oh, hi Cheryl. Okay, not to worry, you can always catch up later on, can't you? Beverly said yes, so does that mean that it is working? How very strange, I can't see that, so I shall leave that alone. We've got the first slide up there, which shows you what I'm using for the black and green cards. Now, I started off with one colour combination with this, and then I layered everything on top of a black piece of cardstock here so I wouldn't lose it. And then I thought I really like the black on green, so I completely changed my mind and re-prepped this, and I went black and green, because just look how vibrant, even before I've done anything, just look how vibrant those colours are sitting on there. And actually seeing them now like this, that's given me a completely different idea for a different card. Okay, now what I don't want to do is go off on a tangent. So let me get my head together while I'm doing this. What I've done already for you is I've already die cut these layered anemone. Let me move that out the way. The one thing you will find that is I'm actually quite clumsy and don't have nice delicate little fingers to use with nice delicate little die cuts like this, so excuse me, this is where my tweezers really do come into play. But if I just, before I do anything, to make a simple card, all I've done is literally die cut what you see there sitting on the plate. Now what you could do is literally just a real, and I'm not going to stick this down because it's not the card that I originally planned, but I'm working onto a piece of black cardstock here. This could be a die cut rectangle with the stitch detail around the outside, or it could just literally be just a plain cut piece of card, which can go onto a small cardstock. You can make a notelet, but why not just arrange your flowers like this? Just out from the corner. They don't necessarily even all need to be part or arranged on top of the stems, but I really think coming out from the corner, that is such a really lovely look. And then if you were to top this, and again I haven't stuck this down, and this is me literally just thinking off the cuff this last minute, if you were to do that and put a sentiment up the top there, trim off the top there, obviously, forget about that, and then put that onto the front of a card back, I think that even in itself would work really nicely. So the card I'm making today is a 5x7 card, but even if you were to, actually that works on a 5x7, doesn't it? You know, it can literally be as simple as that. There's no inking, there's no rearranging or anything. You say these dies, if you use the right colours, they really do the job for you itself. But that's not what I've got planned for this. To say that's me sort of going off the cuff. So I'll try not to do that too much. But when you just see things, sometimes you do just need to mention it, don't you? Right. So what I've done here, I'm going to show you. I've used the nested scallop stitch rectangles to die cut the a piece of textured white cardstock, and that will be a layer to go straight onto my 5x7 card blank. So I'm going to put this together as we go along. So that's going to go straight onto my card blank. I've then used one of Lisa's newest nesting sets, which is the curvy rectangles, and I've die cut myself just a black curvy rectangle, as you see there, and that sits really nicely in that rectangle. So that I thought, oh, you can't actually see the colour, you can't actually see that there, but you can actually see how well these two sets work together size wise, because we have one rectangle around the outside to create the border, and then the curvy rectangle on the inside. So that's a really nice layering point. And then I've die cut a curvy rectangle frame that will sit over the black like so. But before I do that, I wanted to take the die that die cuts the sentiments from the Smile sentiment set. Okay, so this is the die that die cuts the sentiments, and what I want to do is die cut this twice to create a background for my flowers. Okay, so before I stick all of this down, I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine. Now we'll have to use my larger one for this, because obviously this black layer is much too large to go through my small desktop one. Now what I want to do, and I think Mary from the design team done this as well, so I'm going to die cut it this way, and then I'm going to die cut it that way. So to do that and make sure that I have it completely lined up, I'm just going to measure, just sort of roughly actually, the centre point of this curvy rectangle. So the height of that is 14 centimetres, so 7 centimetres will be the centre point. So I've got my mark there. So I'm going to die cut this here. So the bottom of the die, you could also do it that way if you wanted, and that would be completely different as well. But I'm going to do it this way around. So I'm going to put the bottom of the die against the centre line of this die cut. Just make sure it's central by eye, sort of either side. And just to make sure that that doesn't move, I'm going to just tape that down. So we shall run that through first. Now remember that this die does die cut the sentiments here. Ooh. Secured that down. So I'm just going to stand up and push this through the die cutting machine. So that should that would have worked. Just push that through once. So I'm going to move that away. Now I'm using black card, and obviously I can't stamp onto black card, but if you were doing this with a different coloured cardstock, then you could keep these cutouts and stamp onto them or use them for a design for something else. So what you can see what I've done there. So what I'm going to do now is turn the die around and line that up so we have the reverse or mirror image like that. Just push that down, take that into place, and then I can die cut this also and just run this through. And all this is doing is just giving you a nice focal point, a nice background to the layer that you're going to add your flowers onto. Now, some would say this also looks a little bit like a beehive as well, so it's always good to think outside the box and use your dies for different reasons, not always the way that they were designed for. So just remove those from there. I'll pop that back there so I don't lose that. So now I can bring my card blank back in. When I layer this on top of the card blank here, we have nice detail going on in the background. And so I'm going to just layer these two together now. Now you could use 3D foam to mount that. I won't this time round because it was going to be quicker for me to add the glue. But this is a lovely vibrant green, which, I don't know, I think it works so well against the black. So let me layer that onto there. This actually gives you a really unusual background, and not necessarily what you would think of when you first look at the dies. Yeah. So I could be a little bit clumsy. There's too much glue on there, but that will dry clear. So let me just get rid of that glue off my fingers. I wish I had a nice dainty little hands to work. Okay, so what I can do now, I'm going to add this direct to my card blank. Make sure there's enough glue all the way around, and that will fit within that layered rectangle there. Okay. So this actually comes together really quick, and if you were to do this and put lots of different, and perhaps do it in lots of different colours, they'd all have completely different feels to them, wouldn't they? But I think that's actually quite a nice colour combination. So now we can come to our flowers. Perhaps if I zoom you down a little bit more. Right, I wonder, I can't see any of your chat. For some reason that's not working. Are we still live? I'm hoping that we are. Let's see if I can log in while I'm doing this. Apologies if I've stopped for you. Don't want to do the verifying. Okay. Are you still with me? Yes, it looks like we are. Perfect. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my computer. I would rather just concentrate on what we're doing here for you. So if I can zoom you in. No, technology is not working for me today. Right, so you can see here that I've already die cut these flowers, and I've die cut them from white. If I just lift them up a little bit, you can see, you can see all the die cut detail in there. And we've actually got two flowers, two slightly different sizes. So I think what I might do, I'm just going to bring in a little bit of colour. So I've got Lisa's blending inks, Juicy Pineapple, and just one of her smaller blending brushes, and I'm just going to add a tiny amount of colour to the centre of these flowers, just a tiny amount. Now I've chosen yellow, you can choose any colour you like, but this will just give these flowers just a little bit more character as opposed to just white cardstock. And I've actually die cut these from textured cardstock, so when you actually add the ink to them, the texture on that cardstock sort of really comes alive. So once you add that little bit of colour onto there, it really sort of highlights the added dimension, which when you're using a white flower, I think is a really nice thing to do. So I've really made the centres of those quite yellow. And we have another little added section, which is going to add a little bit of shading. I'm just going to add less colour to that. So that's going to be a lighter shade that will sit on top of these centres. So let me get these right. We have two different sizes, and you can see that by the two different sizes of the centres as well. So where are we? Let's move those out of the way so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to work on this smaller flower first. So they're very similar shapes. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to layer these together to one of them. I don't think it really matters which one you put forward and which one you put to the reverse, but what you will do is just rotate them just slightly so it then gives you the flower shape like so. So again, everyone is going to do this slightly differently, and it depends on whether which layer you have forward and which layer you have to the front. And then once you have those layered, then you can add the centres to your flowers also. So we can put the one centre in like that. And then we have the little shaded section, which I'm just going to turn the flower around. The shaded section can sit against the shaped part there. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on my hand. And we can add that into the centre there. So using white cardstock and the yellow ink, these now look like daisies. So we have the one flower there. So I'm just going to put that aside, and we're just going to put together the second flower. Now what I do need to get hold of, which I keep forgetting to do, I need to get hold of one of those little delicate nibbed glue bottles, because that would be absolutely ideal for these really small delicate flowers, particularly when I come to the stems in a second. And we can just layer that flower on there. And the shading, there we are. So as quickly as that, you have two gorgeous looking daisy type flowers, and to say the way however you put them together is going to be different from person to person, and also each time that you do it as well, so they will never look the same twice. So now we come to our stems. So everything is so delicate. Yes, you can see that. Doesn't really matter which way round they go, but what I'm going to do, and I'm all fingers and thumbs, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue. Honestly, I'm sure there are some people who are far more adept at dealing with such delicate little pieces of paper than I am. But I should do my very best for you to show that anybody can use these dies. So we can layer the flowers on top of those green stems, like so. Now we also have lots of leaves. Now I've only die cut the leaves out. I've die cut the leaves twice, one for each of the flowers, but you can really go to town. And if you wanted to add a lot more leaves onto your flower, then obviously you've got that single die to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do first is to place the flowers on there, I think. I think that was where I'd be happy putting them. So now I'm just going to add my glue to the back of the flower and the stem and add those to the card before I add the leaves, I think. So I'm going to put one flower there. And similarly with this one also. There we are. And we can layer that one like so. And now I've just added my little bit of glue to this plastic little sheet here. That's just going to make that easier for me to add the glue and not too much of it, so I can start adding the leaves as we go here. Okay. Put that like that. So there we are. Now you could really go to town, as I say, you can add an awful lot of flowers onto there, but I think that's just something, just the simplicity of the two flowers just really works. Now we can go on and add our sentiment, and you can see here that I've already die cut the different layers of the larger word, the smile sentiment, and this is going to figure for the hello also on the other card. So we have 3 layers. You don't have to die cut them all. The one that actually die cut in white here, the smile, is generally the one that you would cut all. But if you just wanted to layer that onto the largest layer of the die cuts, you could do that. If you wanted to layer it just on the next size up and use it that way round, you can. Or you can layer all 3 together and get the full effect of the matting and layering for that. Which, if you've got lots of colours in your card, and I think that's a really nice thing to do, and it's a great way to bring in extra colour to your card design also. So I'm just going to layer that now onto the black. Put a glue there also. You can turn that round. Now these sentiments, I think, are going to be so useful on all cards, not the one, you know, not only the ones that you're using with the flower designs also. So we can add our smile there, and then I've also stamped and die cut all the sentiments from this particular set. So they're all perfect sentiments to use for any occasion, really. Smile, it's your birthday is a really nice one. You could actually also reuse these layers that you've already die cut for the background as well, if you wanted to do that. So that would be a really nice way to sort of reuse and make the best use of the background. But I think I'm going to add the smile just there. Put that in the centre. And I'm going to add "It's Your Birthday," and I can add that just underneath. That's always a nice card to have in your stash to use at any time. I'm just going to layer that under the flower. There we go, like so. So that's one card. That's one way to use Lisa's. So we have the layered anemone and the smile, the little smile stamps as well. So depending on the colours that you choose and even the size of the card, you can make little notelets. But say this is a nice 5x7 card, which works lovely with the size of these flowers. So that's one way to use the sets. So I'm just going to put those aside, and we just go on to the second card now, which is a little bit more involved. Let me get myself organised. So different colours again. Move that out of the way. So this time I am using the stitched edge circle backgrounds. You can see that I already have those die cut for you there. I'm using the layered anemone and the little hello sentiments there. I'm also going to use one of Lisa's embossing folders. This could be anyone that would suit. I'm making a 5x7 card again. I've created this from coloured cardstock this time. I've made a matten layer that will go on the front, which is I'll do this in inches. It's 4 3/4 inches by 6 3/4 inches, so that's in the turquoise colour. And then the white matten layer to go on top is 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So before I do anything else, I am going to emboss this white piece of cardstock. Make sure, now there's two different ways you can do this. I'll make sure I do it this way round. You can use any embossing folder or not at all. I mean, I am using textured cardstock as well, but I just wanted to add a little bit more texture. You could use leaves, you could use any embossing folder that you've got in your stash really that sort of fits with the floral theme. So I'm just going to emboss this. So this is just going to give me just that little added bit of texture. Now, when it's interesting actually when you use this, you can actually emboss this and use this both ways. That's really hard to show you actually, isn't it? Against the white. So we have that wood panel embossing. Now I want to shape this card a little bit, so I'm going to do that before I start on the rest of the die cuts there. So now we can layer this onto our green section. This is going to go onto the front of the card. So to start with, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to match and layer the white onto this turquoise section first. I'm going to put plenty of glue onto the back because you'll see why in a second. I'm actually going to shape this layer as well. I can layer that onto there. I'm just going to put that onto the front of the card. Now, before I do any cutting, I'm just going to line that up and use a ruler I'm actually going to shape the front of this card this way, and I'm just going to use a ruler, and I want to just make a diagonal cut down the side here. So I'm just going to mark that so it goes across all of the different layers. So I will cut these layers separately because my trimmer won't go through all three, but I want to make sure that they all line up. So you can choose your angle of the diagonal that you want to cut at. So I'm going to just line up those marks that I've made on my trimmer there. So one line there, one line there, and I know my trimmer will go through the two layers. But I also want to create that shape on my card blank. So I'm going to line up again those marks that I made, knowing that that same diagonal is the same as the matten layer here. So I'm going to keep this section and this section also, because what I want to do, I just want to re-piece that back together. So I'm going to add the front of this matten layer to the front of my card blank, and I'm lining that up against the front of that card blank there. So we have one diagonal shape there. But to keep the look of that going, I'm also going to add these layers back into the back of the card as well, on the inside of the card. So I'm going to do these separately. So I'm going to line that one up first. Okay. And then I will, you notice that I've now closed the front of my card. We'll close the card up, because what I want to do now is reattach this piece, but I want it to line up with the front of the card so it looks seamless. So we can do that. So now we have a different style of card blank. It just adds that little bit of interest, doesn't it? But once it's all closed up, it looks like we've got the standard sort of card blank going on. So I think it's just a nice little idea here. Now my plan was to use the cutting dies, the stitched edge circle dies, to create the focal point in the centre here. Now you can see what I've done. I've die cut the zigzag circles in 3 colours. So this is because I want to mix and match the zigzags that are in the centre of the circle here. So I can take these away. I've also die cut the white one as well, because I think what I might do is to use the white die cut. I use a coloured frame to make it tie in with the matten layer around the outside here. And I will then fill in these zigzag shapes with the purple and the green colours there. So we do need to have, okay, so I'll show you what I'm doing. Let's do it this way around. So I've taken the white die cut, I've taken a coloured circle frame, which we can add the glue to, and we can add that to that section here. I'm going to take one of the solid circles, because obviously if we're going to paper piece back into the zigzags, we need something solid for them to sit back onto. So I can use one of the solid circles. It can be either or, doesn't make any difference really. And I'm going to attach this to the back of this circle now. So I'm just seeing where we go. So we've got plenty of the white cardstock that we can add our glue to. We do want to do this quite gently. We don't want to have too much glue coming through. So again, I really do need to get hold of one of those really delicate glue dispensers, if you have one, which possibly many of you already do. That will be the perfect thing to use. So I'm just looking at that. There's a little bit too much glue there, so I'll just take that away. And I'm going to attach that to the background. So when I turn that over, we have a lovely die cut there with the lilac in the centre, the white zigzag lines, and we have the blue around the outside. So you can see now how you can really introduce lots of colours coming into the card, and that is going to be the centre point that's going to come on to my card blank there. Now I think just for speed of time, obviously I don't need to add the lilac zigzags back in, but if you did, it would actually create a different effect to what you have here, because at the moment we have quite a dimension look, because obviously you've got a layer on top of a layer. If you wanted that to have a slightly different look by adding those even the same coloured zigzags back in, it will give you a slightly flatter look. Now that would depend on what you were adding on top of your circle there. So I'm just thinking now, I've got these the wrong way around. That one goes in there. But I think just for ease of time, every other one of these lines I'm going to add the green in. So I'm just thinking how to actually say that. So I'm going to add the glue onto here. It might be an idea actually, you could always die cut these circles from self-adhesive sheets. That might actually help back with that paper piecing back in for you as well. So if I'm just going to paper piece those back in, that sits in there really nicely. And I shall add that one in there. And you can really go to town with this. You could cut this in so many different colours. And you could have a rainbow effect on this, have a different colour zigzag line completely, but I think you get the idea of where we're going with this. And if I just add a little bit of glue just to be consistent, I can put those little sections in there also. There we go. Now I still have lots of these zigzags left, and what I would probably do is put those in an envelope and use them later on. So you can obviously create another one of these circles in opposite colours, and it'd be quite a relaxing afternoon to sort of sit and just make up loads of these, so you have those ready to use. So we have that section that can sit on the front of the card like so. Now this obviously needs to sit central. Now the card does open, so when you add glue to the main section there, you don't want it to be on the exposed piece. So just behind there, I'm just going to add a line, so I know that on this section, this is where I add the glue, and it won't be exposed on the other side. So you can line that up back to that line that you drew, and add your circle onto the front there and just line that up. Okay, so we have the stitched edge circle backgrounds there have been used like that, so that creates a nice background for anything that you may want to add onto the front of your card there. So I've used the same colours and same premise as we did with the smile. I'm just going to, I've already die cut them. I can layer up the hello die. I'm very heavy handed with the glue today. But if I do this now, this will give that a chance to dry off. Now, in itself, I think you could just go with the card like that and you'll be ready to go. Absolutely ready to go. You wouldn't necessarily need to do any more than that to it at all. I think with the right colours, that is absolutely perfect in itself, especially if you like the plain and simple or the person you're making to. I mean, even if you're batch making, actually, that you'd be able to get through these, you get a nice production line going, and you'd be able to make those really, really quickly. So I'll just leave those there, but what I will do, I will come now to the layered iris. Now, you have enough dies, if you were to die cut all of these, to make one flower. What I've done, I've die cut everything twice, and I've already made up one of the flowers for you to see. So I will then go ahead and show you how the next one is made up. So I will bring in a piece of black card actually and work against this. Now what I wanted to show you, oh actually what I should have done is changed the slide for you. So I'm hoping you might just have to, if you can help me out here. I have a second dive, a second slide for this card that I'm making now, the iris card. But for some reason, oh yes, there we are, I can see it on Facebook. This is the iris card. So you've got the slide there for the iris card. And apologies actually, if that slide was there while I was creating and you couldn't see behind the slide, it's because that is actually quite frustrating. So maybe if I take that off now. See, technology when it works is absolutely brilliant, isn't it? When it doesn't, it leaves you a bit confused. So I don't want to focus too much on that, but I think I might try. I know, as long as I work on this side, you can see what I'm doing. What I will do, I've already made up one of these irises. And if I can, I'm just going to turn that to the light. Hopefully you can see that the iris, the actual main colour of the flower is slightly shimmery. What I've done to create that, I've actually, onto a piece of cardstock, I mixed some flash paste with some explosion powder. Now I did do this in my last live and absolutely loved the colour that came out of this, but it didn't show anywhere near enough on the card that I made at the time, so I've redone it today. So I mixed the crystal flash paste with the black magic explosion powder, and this is the colour that I got. Now I've already die cut through some of this, but the colour that you get from that is sparkly, it's lilac-y, there's a bit of gold in there. If you don't mix too much, you will see streaks of blue from the explosion powder, but it's a fantastic colour. It's a gorgeous colour. So I mixed these two together and spread it like butter onto a small piece of cardstock. But I've done that well in advance because it needs to be dried and really, really well before you start die cutting it. I've also done the same using the same colour explosion powder, Black Magic or Magic Black, and I've used the gilded pearl paste. And this difference that you can see there, you get an awful lot more gold, but in certain lights also it looks very lilac. And because you're mixing the explosion powder through this, you will see streaks of that other of the colours that make up the explosion powder. So I wanted to try and show you the two different finishes actually of these explosion pastes. It's very hard with this light that's shining on there, but you can see this is the pearl, and if I put the black up towards it as well, you'll see that this one is the crystal, which has a slightly different look to it. Really tricky to show you, I do appreciate that, but I thought it's a gorgeous colour to use for this iris, because in particular I'm just waiting for these to come out in my garden, and these are the colours that they are. So yeah, I thought that was really pretty. But that is the iris made up there. And I'll just show you how this goes together. So you have the different components for this iris flower. You have the main bloom there. Okay, again, you can see that colour on there. You have the layered part. Now you have these tiny little sections which really enhance the flower. So they are die cut in a yellow. You have the centre of the flower, which I've gone with the same colour theme as the card. So I've done that in the little blue colour. Oh, there we go. If I can bring that in a little bit. So maybe if I do that now, you can see the colour on there. Let's shield that a little bit. How pretty is that? So I'm getting distracted by the colour. So we then also have two more tiny little dies, which die cut the tiny little buds for you, which go onto the foliage. So I'll just show you the dies, how the dies work, just in case you're a little bit unsure. This yellow section here, you have die cut from this die, like so. These little buds here and the centre of the flower is die cut from this little section here. Then everything else is self-explanatory. I think sometimes it can be a little bit daunting when you see these small dies and you don't always know where they relate to. So hopefully that will be of use for you. Now, as always with all of Lisa's dies, even with a Spellbinders collaboration, always look to the packaging, and that will give you an idea of how these flowers come together. So the first thing to layer on, I think I would do, is the yellow section here. So I'm going to tiny bit of glue. I'll just take off the majority of that and add that to the bottom of the flower there. Now you're definitely going to need tweezers to add these tiny little bits on. It's the small details, but if they weren't there, you'd notice it. So these tiny little finishing details are really what Lisa is so good at. So I'm just going to add those little bits to the side like that. Okay. Let me just hold that up and show you that. There we go. So we have those two little accents on either side there. So now in the purple colour, you can see how this, that's the wrong way around, it fits to the flower like so. So it's quite easy to get the wrong way around initially until you actually start layering it up against the main part of the flower petals there, and then you can see exactly where that goes. We have the centre of the flower, which fits like so. Again, it doesn't necessarily need to have that centre part, or you can have that the same colour. But I've put that on there like that. Now, before you continue on, this is where we can bring in the leaves and the stems. So this is the main stem of the iris, and you have these little bud sections here that fit onto these areas of the stem here. So I found it actually easier to put the glue onto the tips of these. Oh. Like so. I'm just going to dab those off a little bit because I've got too much on there. And then I'm just going to pick up those bud areas. So one there like that, and one there like that. So I can lay those down. I'm going to put the glue onto the end of my branch, on my stem, sorry. I can put the main flower onto the top, like so. Just making sure that doesn't stick to the cardstock behind. And then we can layer our leaves. And I think what I will do, I'll put my glue onto there. We can layer our leaves just along our stem. And layer that up as we go. And it actually becomes quite a substantial die by the time we've got everything layered onto there. I'm going to put that one on there. And just make sure that that doesn't stick to my card blank there. So I'm going to move that one out of the way. Okay, and now we can add this to our card. Now I'm going to work with this one initially, I think, because that has dried. So we can add either one or both. Actually, I don't even know what the best way to do that is. I think to be quite gentle with those. I think we could possibly layer the two like that. I don't know. I think what I might do, I'm going to have a little think about that as we, I don't know, I can't make up my mind. I think what I might do initially, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to add my hello there. I've got my sentiments that I've die cut. So hello, it's your special day. And we can have that sitting on the front of the card like that, I think. And I have a spare flower to use on another card. So I will add those. So you've noticed actually that I would have used the hello from this set here. But I've actually picked up a stamped sentiment that I used from the other previous set. So they are all interchangeable. So I'm going to add that onto the front. Like so. Hello, it's your special day. I think that works. And then we can add our flower, our iris, to the cardstock there. It's actually quite really relaxed doing this. Though admittedly, I'm probably spent a little bit too much time doing this with you today, but I've tried to go into as much detail as I can. I know some of you may be crafting along. I think Beverly's with us today, and she always crafts along with me. So she'll be very good and get her card up back onto Facebook for us all to have a look at before I will, I think. So that is ideal. Thanks, Beverly. So there we are. We have, there's today's card there, and a very different one if we bring that into there. So let's see, we've still got the, let's see if we can remove that for you. I don't know if that's worked. But I shall zoom back out. Oh, wrong way. Oh, there we go. You can actually see the detail in those flowers there, those die cut flowers that I wasn't able to show you before. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Let's come back out. So we've got those sitting for you there. So that's two very different cards for you. I seem to have overrun a little bit. Hopefully you don't mind. And you've managed to stay with me. But so it's a nice in-depth detail. If you want more inspiration, you just need to type in Spellbinders and Lisa Horton into our group, and all the design team samples come up. And there are some fabulous ones on there, of course, as well as all the ones that you all are creating yourself as well. So thanks for spending your afternoon with me, and having the patience to sit watching through that. Hopefully it will sort of really give you a good in-depth look for how these dies work. There's only one live for me this week, but I will try and get another video out for you. There's I've got a little list of things that I do want to make and get onto video for you over the next couple of weeks, so I will endeavour and try my hardest to do that for you. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. I shall see you all on Friday evening with Lisa. I think Lisa's live alters a little bit on Friday because I'm sure she's got an event, but there'll be details in the group about that. But thanks for your time this afternoon. Thanks for spending your afternoon with me, and I shall see you all again soon.